The A320 has fire detection and extinguishing systems for the engines and APU, smoke detection in the avionics bay, smoke detection and fire extinguishing systems in the cargo compartments and lavatories, portable fire extinguishers for the flight compartment and the cabin. The engines and APU each have a fire detection system. Each system consists of two identical detection loops, A and B, mounted in parallel, a fire detection unit, FDU. Each engine is equipped with two extinguisher bottles. The discharge of the bottles is activated by an associated push-button switch. The push buttons are located on the fire panel on the overhead panel. For the APU, there is one fire extinguisher bottle. Its discharge is activated either by a push button or automatically if there is an APU fire when the aircraft is on the ground. The guarded fire push buttons provide fire indication and enable the corresponding system to be isolated. Their use will be shown in the Fire Drills module. Test buttons are used to test the respective fire detection and extinguishing system operation. You will perform this test in the normal operation module. In addition to the indications on the fire panel, you have a fire light for each engine on the engine panel located on the pedestal. These lights identify which engine is on fire. There is an additional fire light for the APU and the guarded APU shutoff push button located on the external power panel. A smoke detection system is provided for the avionics. Its detector is located in the air extraction duct. The indications for avionics smoke are located on two panels in the cockpit: the emergency electrical power panel, the ventilation panel. The lavatory smoke detection system consists of one smoke detector in each lavatory, linked to the Smoke Detection Control Unit, SDCU. The SDCU transmits the signals to the FWC for warnings in the cockpit and to the Cabin Intercommunication Data System, CIDS, for warning in the cabin. In addition, each lavatory waste bin has an automatic fire extinguishing system. A total of 6 smoke detectors are installed in the cargo compartments. There are 2 detectors in the forward compartment, 4 in the aft compartment. Each detector is linked to one of the 2 detection loops. The SDCU receives signals from the detectors and sends them to the FWC for display in the cockpit. On the overhead panel, a cargo smoke panel indicates cargo smoke detection. The 2 guarded discharge push buttons control one fire bottle. Each push-button switch controls one squib or discharge head of the bottle. When pushed, the fire bottle is completely emptied in the corresponding compartment. The fire extinguishing agent is discharged either via one nozzle into the forward compartment or 2 nozzles into the aft compartment. Finally, there are portable fire extinguishers in the cockpit and the cabin. The number, type and locations depend on the different customer layouts. One of the first things to do before the first flight of the day is the APU fire test. Before performing this test, you have to make sure that the APU fire push-button switch is in and guarded, the agent light is extinguished. Let's perform the test now. Push the APU fire test push button. Observe. The APU fire push-button switch illuminates red. Squib and discharge lights come on. Additionally, if AC power is available, you get the master warning light, the CRC, and an APU fire warning on the ECAM. Before you leave the cockpit to perform the walk-around, you have to check the emergency equipment. Ensure that the fire extinguisher pressure is in the green area. During the walk-around, you have to check that the APU fire extinguisher overpressure indication, red disc, is in place. This is an indication that the fire bottle has not been discharged. Note, there is no such indication for the engine fire bottles. Once back in the cockpit, we proceed with the engine fire test. We will do engine 1 only. The test for engine 2 is the same. Note, these tests are not necessary during a transit check. Push the engine 1 fire test push button. Observe. The engine 1 fire push button switch illuminates red. Squib and discharge lights illuminate. The master warning light flashes. The CRC sounds. The engine 1 fire warning appears on ECAM. The fire light illuminates on the engine panel. You are in cruise flight. Everything is normal. On the engine warning display, the message Engine 1 Fire with the associated procedure is displayed. The illuminated fire push-button switch on the fire panel and the fire light on the engine panel confirm this indication. The system display shows the corresponding page with the nacelle temperature pulsing. The pilot flying maintains control of the aircraft and asks you, as pilot non-flying, to perform the ECAM actions. According to the general task sharing, the pilot flying remains responsible for the thrust levers. After confirmation from the pilot non-flying, he sets thrust lever 1 to idle. Engine 1 is spooling down. Engine 2 is accelerating to compensate for the thrust loss. You now have exactly the same situation as for an engine failure. So the pilot flying sets the thrust lever 2 to MCT. Continue ECAM action. No, switch engine master 1 to off. After having switched engine 1 off, the after engine 1 shutdown procedure is shown on the engine warning display. Since the IP and HP valves close and the generator is no longer operating, air bleed and electrical are shown as secondary failures. After the engine has been switched off, you can now go ahead and take care of the fire itself. To be able to push the engine 1 fire push button, you have to do something that is not part of the ECAM procedure. Lift the engine 1 fire push button guard. No, lift the engine 1 fire push button guard. Push the engine 1 fire push button switch. When released, the fire push button switch arms the squibs, shown by the white indications, closes fuel, hydraulic, bleed and pack valves of engine 1. For this reason, the hydraulic system is added to the secondary failure list. Simultaneously, an automatic countdown is started on the ECAM. This is in order to allow the engine to further slow down in order to increase the effectiveness of the agent. The next line of the ECAM procedure calls for the discharge of the fire extinguisher bottle. Go ahead and perform the ECAM action. The discharge light illuminates on the Agent 1 push button. This means the fire extinguisher bottle is depressurized. It's now time to inform ATC. Since there is no feedback to the FWC, this line will not disappear. All indications confirm that the fire is still burning. A second countdown now starts. This one is 30 seconds long, in order to give the first agent enough response time. If at any time the fire stops, the engine 1 fire message will disappear. Agent 1 managed to extinguish the fire. The countdown for Agent 2 stopped immediately. Notice, the engine 1 fire push button switch is no longer illuminated. The fire light on the engine panel is now off. The engine fire procedure on the ECAM has disappeared. Land ASAP has changed from red to amber. Since the next steps are part of different chapters, we will stop here and proceed with the next failure. You managed a safe landing and changed the aircraft. Now you are back in cruise, everything is normal, but unfortunately, on the engine warning display, the message forward cargo smoke with the associated procedure is displayed. Simultaneously, a red smoke light on the cargo smoke panel illuminates, and the cond page is displayed on the system display. The forward cargo isolation valves are closed automatically. If this had not happened, the corresponding line would have been added to the ECAM procedure. Go ahead and perform the ECAM action. Notice that both discharge lights illuminate. This is because there is only one fire extinguisher bottle for both cargo compartments. It means there is no fire agent left for a possible aft cargo smoke warning. Note, expect the smoke warning to remain after agent discharge, even if the smoke source is extinguished. Gases from the smoke source are not evacuated, and smoke detectors are sensitive to the extinguishing agent. If one of the two fire detection loops of an engine fails, an ECAM message is triggered. After review and confirmation from the pilot flying, clear engine. Because of the system redundancy, fire detection is still fully operational. Let's see what happens when you lose the second loop. Should you lose both loops or the FDU, fire detection is no longer available for the respective engine or the APU. Click on the forward arrow to clear the engine. Crew awareness and a close monitoring of the respective engine indications are now required. Note, should both loops break within